Oh, good morning, everyone out there listening to 40 Minutes of Hell. I'm your friend Joseph Craven, and we have all been awakened by the bombshell news in the NBA this Saturday morning. Kawhi Leonard signing with the Clippers and bringing Paul George along with him. This, in and of itself, deserves a little bit of a 40 Minutes of Hell recording session. I had refrained on bringing up the free agency stuff in an episode, partly because I just wanted to take a little bit of time off. That's, a major significant part of it. But also partly because I wanted to see, I wasn't going to be able to bring anything majorly new to the discussions, I feel like, that you would hear on any other of the multitude of good NBA podcasts out there if I jumped in and started, rambling on and on and on about Kevin Durant and the Nets and, the same news stories that we've heard over and over and over again. I really wanted to wait until the league itself was kind of a little bit more settled before I actually chimed in with some free agency discussion. And look at this. This is worth bringing me out of hibernation on a Saturday morning as I'm getting ready to go out of town to record a little mini episode about this big time move right here. Now, the first thing I want to say is that I'm not one to brag about things because I do not predict things very well. And so I will not take credit for predicting this because I said it mostly as a joke. But in multiple conversations with friends, including a podcast with 40 Minutes of Hell co-host Ro Hunter that we were recording for our other college football, SEC football podcast, Running Out the Clock, yesterday, jokingly told him that the most Kawhi Leonard move possible would be to let all of this hype continue to grow and then to go off and join the Clippers and make it his life's mission to destroy the Lakers. It seems, obvious that would be, looking back now, that seems obvious that that's what he would do. At the time, I was just saying it as a joke more than anything else, but it seems to be what he's doing now. He is first and foremost an odd man, and we know this. He's a very private guy. We know this. We know that he has his own motivations for doing things. It would have been very easy for him to phone it in last season because he did not want to end up in Toronto. He wanted to be moved elsewhere. It would have been very easy for him to phone it in last season and do something entirely, different with his time to recover, to come back, to then go and sign the deal he wants to sign somewhere else because everyone's going to be down with signing him. They're going to be totally cool with signing him if he even takes a year off because they still know what he's capable of doing. No. He boosted his, player stock significantly by going and winning a title with a team that he was there, for a year with, and then pulls this move here. You cannot guess what Kawhi Leonard is doing. It's fascinating in this day and age of social media, in this day and age of players tweeting, of Woj bombs left and right, this day and age of every news story being known a week before it's supposed to be known, this day and age of Kevin Durant saying, everyone tune in to my thing and I'm going to make my announcement tonight, and, Woj ruins that for Kevin Durant, which is kind of hilarious. All of that sort of stuff is huge, and it's huge that Kawhi was able to keep all of this a secret and then pull off this move to return back home. And it seems like a logical fit to get the other, California native who wanted to return home, Paul George, in on it as well. Now, this train of thought right here, I'm about to go on a little bit of train of thought that's not Kawhi related, but it is inspired by listening to a new basketball podcast from my old friend Tyler Tarver named The NBA is Cool. Go check it out. This is probably, it's got to be the NBA podcast that has the most amount of Tylers on it. out there in the entire world. But he mentioned something about, in their most recent episode, John Wall having the worst contract in the NBA. Because, like, you can't do anything with it, and he's not really worth the money, that type of thing. I would say that there's a couple more that were even worse. When you look at the biggest cap hits this season, all right, this is what you've got. Steph Curry has the biggest cap hit in this season. It makes sense. It's Steph Curry. He's a, MVP and title winner. He's worth the money. But then you get into the second biggest cap hits in the season. You get Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul. They're tied for having the second biggest hits on the cap space on their teams. Both players get continually chastised for not being able to put their teams over the top and win. And I especially don't think Chris Paul is a guy that you can win a title with in this modern NBA. And these two unfriendly contracts limit what the Rockets and the Thunder could do in order to put the right pieces around these guys. Before this trade, the Thunder were locked in to spend roughly $127 million between 5 players in the 2020 to 2021 season. All right, $121 million between Russ, PG-13, Steven Adams, and Dennis Schroeder. Then there's dead cap space from Terrence Ferguson, Abdel Nadir, and Hamidou Diallo that adds an extra $7 million. So the Thunder were locked down if they didn't make a move. Hey, what do you know? Here's the move here. Maybe if they could make a move here, the reason I was bringing all this up is I thought Russell Westbrook was the worst contract in the NBA. But if they're able to move Russ here, then in this whole deal and blow everything up, then they will have proven me wrong. But then behind them, you got a 3-way tie for contracts. You got some big names. You got former MVP James Harden, former MVP Kevin Durant, and then you've got John Wall, all tied as far as the third largest cap hit that you can possibly have. And if you're up in this area here, it's pretty clear that if you're in the top 3 of the most impactful contracts in the NBA, then you're expected to either win titles or be an MVP candidate. And you notice instantly that while Harden has won an MVP, and Harden wins scoring titles. KD maybe arguably wouldn't have won any titles by himself, but only got them because he teamed up with Steph Curry. That's neither here nor there because, once again, you have John Wall right there who hasn't done either of those things. And all in all, it makes me wonder if these Supermax contracts are oftentimes a bigger hindrance to teams than they realize when the deals are signed, because you sign a Supermax and you really think you focus on the first year of the Supermax. You don't think about what it's going to be like 4 or 5 years from now when all of a sudden you're owing this player $45 million of your precious cap space and they are underperforming. That theory might not have any truth to it, but I do wonder because that's only a handful of titles shared between the top 6 biggest contracts in the league. And of course, 2 of those guys, the 2 guys that won the titles actually won them together. So there's that. All right, back to the free agency discussion, though. And I'm now joined by friend of the program who hopped in on my NBA draft live stream and now is joining me for the first time on the actual podcast itself, Jim and M. Don't confuse him with Eminem. My friend Jim Strickland. What's up, Jim? How are you, man?
What is up? I am doing great. Just out of bed, cleaning dog pee around the house, but it's a brand new dog and it's an exciting day.
Man, there is nothing like getting that new pet in the house and being so excited, and then coming down to like the harsh reality of like this thing is going to urinate on so much stuff before we get trained. Oh my gosh! Like I love my dog to death. But like I do not miss those first like couple of months trying to get her like housebroken and everything. It just
within hours I'm already having my doubts, but it's the cutest thing in the world.
Right, exactly. I'm like, I'm just sitting over there going, my wife talked me into this. I was not on board. Anyway, enough about dogs. Let's talk about basketball. That is my basketball. All right, so obviously the big news now, taking the spotlight away from the Brooklyn Nets, who thought that they were the ones just absolutely killing it in free agency, which they were. Let's be honest here. We now have this Kawhi Leonard going to the Clippers, bringing along Paul George, 2 California boys who went to small California colleges flew under the radar and now are NBA superstars teaming up together on the LA Clippers. Just give me what's your initial reaction to this, man?
I'm blown away. I did not expect it, but at the same time, I don't think anybody should have expected anything out of Kawhi Leonard. Nobody knew this is the most mystery man in the NBA, if not the world.
Like I had joked that the most Kawhi Leonard possible, or the most Kawhi Leonard thing to do at all was to hold out for a while, then go to the Clippers and just kind of like make it his life mission to destroy the Lakers. But it was a complete joke. And then he goes and he does something like this, where the rumors are he wants to sign long term wherever he ended up. So if he signs long term, Paul George is locked in for a couple more years, all of that. I mean, do you think this is a Lakers beating team right here in the Clippers? Do you think that the Clippers are now the top LA based NBA franchise?
You may have to educate me as well as the listeners real fast. Mm-hmm. Since I know the initial trade, read on Twitter, made fun of Lakers fans, fell asleep. Just woke up. I just woke up. So what else is? I know there's some trades, some draft picks, but like what else did the Clippers trade players? I assume that they did.
They did. They traded away 2 players. So the whole deal is that the Clippers are sending away forward Danilo Gallinari and young point guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, along with a Lakers load of draft picks to fill in the gaps, like 4 first-round draft picks. I guess if you live in LA, you think draft picks, you just don't need them. So get rid of them, both teams.
Any college or high school aspiring NBA players out there, you're not going to get drafted by LA.
You're not going to LA right off the bat, guys. Sorry. You need to bomb, become an undrafted free agent, and then sign with the LA teams if you want to go. Yeah. So obviously, I feel like the biggest hit there is losing Gilgeous-Alexander, who is 6'6" point guard with like a 7-foot wingspan and very promising. Like I think he is just now 21 years old. Gallinari had a great year last year, but he's in his early 30s and never quite really found his place in the NBA until the stretch 4 became popular.
Okay.
But all that being said, you're now looking at let me try to pull up the players that are on the Clippers roster as of right now and make sure that I get everyone who is under contract correct. They were able to bring back Patrick Beverley. They brought back 28-year-old off guard Rodney Magruder to be kind of a 3-and-D type guy. They, of course, still have Sweet Lou Williams. Mm-hmm. They have 22-year-old point guard Landry Shamet, who apparently a lot of people really like. I feel like we haven't seen much of him, but people apparently really like him. Mo Harkless, a defensive minded small forward. Montrezl Harrell, one of those undersized. What was the guy's name? I was going to compare him to Kenneth Faried. There we go. A Kenneth Faried type power forward. And then Jerome Robinson.
They look alike too.
They do kind of look alike. Maybe that's why I'm making the comparison. Maybe I'm just being really insensitive to Montrezl Harrell's personal identity, and I apologize. And Sindarius Thornwell. So they have a pretty full roster. And a lot of these guys were guys that took them to the playoffs last year. But now they do lose those 2 guys.
All right, so are the Clippers – okay, starting lineup. Patrick Beverley, point guard. Mm-hmm. Kawhi at the 2, Paul George at the 3.
I'd put him the other way around because Paul George is such a good 3-point shooter.
Okay, right. Okay, so Patrick Beverley, Kawhi, Paul George, Harrell, 5.
Probably Harrell and and they're most likely, I forgot about this, but they do have cap holds that can re-sign JaMychal Green, and more importantly, Ivica Zubac, the young 7-footer. That the Lakers got rid of last year and then went to the Clippers and had a very good end of the season with the Clippers. So most likely they will have Zubac down there in the post for him to be their 5.
Okay. Who plays the 4?
Harrell. That'd be Montrezl Harrell
Harrell.
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. He's not like a great 3-point shooter or anything like that, but he's just a real good kind of all around enforcer type guy. The Clippers are not a flashy team and did not want to be a flashy team.
No, but without a Kawhi Leonard, they beat the Warriors twice in the playoffs last year. I mean, this is pretty scary to add Kawhi.
And Paul George, who was
and Paul George.
who was an MVP candidate, last season. A lot of people saying he had an MVP caliber year. So that being said, I mean, you're looking at that roster there. I mean, are they better than the Lakers? Did they do better than the Lakers getting Anthony Davis? I know you're a huge LeBron and AD fan. So, when you look at this, what do you think?
I think that AD, if you were just to play 2-on-2, AD versus Kawhi and Paul George, I would take AD and LeBron. However, This is not 2v2. And it's going to be a bunch of young vet men. I guess they signed Danny Green last night.
Yeah, they did get Danny Green. That's big. I think that's very huge for the Lakers to get someone like that.
But so last season, Kawhi averaged the second most. I don't know if you saw the stat. Second most points per touch, with a minimum of 2,500 touches. The only player with a higher average, guess.
I'm gonna guess Anthony Davis.
His new teammate, Paul George.
What? Really?
Yes. So the top 2 most points per touch. Like, it's fine. Everything's fine.
So you're not just talking about good offense. You're talking about some efficient offense too.
Extremely.
Wow. That's really solid. I'm looking at the Clippers roster or stats from last season, and they're going to return. Obviously, they got rid of Tobias Harris partway through the year, but they're going to return to 3 of their top 5 scorers from last season. Between Lou Williams averaging 20 points a game coming off the bench, Montrezl Harrell, who only started 5 games, played in all 82 and averaged 16.6 points per game. Not a bad number for an undersized power forward. And then
that's great.
Landry Shamet averaging almost 11 points a game. So
I got to be honest, they're going to be my pick to win the West. How about you?
Right off the bat, man, win the West? No, I'm thinking Portland.
Portland, okay. Sorry, I skipped ahead a little bit.
No, that's good. That's a great question. Because you put me on the spot, so I had an impulse answer. And now that I've said Portland out loud, I'm like, why did I just say Portland? No, I can't say Portland. But I was thinking Portland. I just like their offseason moves a lot.
I'm willing to put money on that.
All right.
Right here.
Okay, all right, we're going to do this. I'm going to say, now, when you say win the West, do you mean like number 1 seed, like in the playoffs? Best record in the West, or
win the playoffs, like go make it to the championship.
Oh, make it to the championship. I think the Clippers have more of a championship edge, mostly because of Kawhi. I think Portland will be the top seed out of the West.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean they've got chemistry together. The Clippers may start slow.
Yeah, that's very true. So you look at this. What do the Lakers do now? Because I mean, they obviously got Danny Green, which I think is a great signing for them. They're most likely going to have to go after re-signing. I think they already re-signed JaVale McGee, so they have him, and at the 5 they have KCP, who I feel like, knowing Lakers fans, they're iffy about him. Some are like, yeah, he's good, he's efficient, he's a good defender. Some are like, man, he's such a waste of space. And then it looks like they're probably going to have to go like Rajon Rondo as their starting point guard.
Yes.
All right. So where else do you think the Lakers go? You think they try to go after somebody like DeMarcus Cousins?
I don't see why not at this point. If all of a sudden DeMarcus Cousins is getting a lot of flack right now, they're saying he doesn't fit on any team, which is maybe true. However, He worked well with AD. They have chemistry together already. They're both dominant big man. Oh, they happen to have LeBron James, who's pretty good at basketball.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it, but I don't love it for him. I feel bad. But can I back up just a tad bit?
Absolutely.
Didn't Anthony Davis take a discount to make room to sign Kawhi Leonard?
Yeah, how are you feeling right now if you're a Lakers fan, knowing that? I think you sent this in a group text earlier today, and I gotta dig it back up now. What did it say? Anthony Davis gave up $85 million and forced his way out of New Orleans to LA so that he and LeBron could be surrounded by Troy Daniels, Kyle Kuzma, and Jared Dudley.
Yeah, then the Bird Rights tweeted Anthony Davis waiver kicked so the Lakers could overpay KCP and JaVale McGee.
Yeah. Like, if you're a Lakers fan, how are you feeling about all of that? Like, obviously you want Kawhi, but how are you feeling about the fact that, you convinced your second biggest star to give up some of his money for the betterment of the team, and it didn't really work out?
Man, I if you go back onto my timeline sometime today, and I just went back and retweeted, I just searched through as many as I could, Lakers fans talking about how Kawhi's a lock to go to the Lakers. Sources say he's a lock to the Lakers, and I just went and retweeted every single one of them. It's pretty funny. They're salty.
What's your Twitter handle out there for all the people listening? Go.
My Twitter handle is @JimNM_, JIMNM.
All right, here's an important question when you look at all of free agency. Then LA getting, because from here on out, LA refers to the Clippers, not the Lakers. LA getting Kawhi and Paul George. Does this make them the winners of free agency? Like, even in light of the Nets, even in light of like Milwaukee keeping, most of their free agents, even in light of all of that, does this make them the winners of free agency?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Two most efficient scorers, arguably Kawhi Leonard, some say the best player in the NBA right now. Paul George, dark horse.
I'll say that, by
MVP.
the way. I'll say in light of last year, I think Kawhi Leonard is the best player in the NBA right now.
It's hard to argue.
Could change when the season starts, but
dominant defensively, like I said, like amazing scorer, also efficient scorer, second most efficient scorer in the league. And you paired him with Kawhi, Paul George. I think they easily win free agency.
I mean, if it was anyone other than Paul George, maybe I'd be like, well, the Nets, still probably, made off well because their plan actually worked. Like, the Nets set a plan in motion to have this much cap space. They set the plan in motion a couple of seasons ago, I feel like. Mm-hmm. And their plan actually worked, and that never happens in the NBA ever.
Right. Right.
Ever. But I think the fact that you just got, a guy who is a proven winner in Kawhi, who that's all he does is just win titles. That's all he cares about is winning. He's not a stats guy. He's a championship and just basketball winning player. And then you go and you grab Paul George, who, by the way, last season, even after averaging 28 points a game, also pulled in 8 rebounds a game and had 2.2 steals per game. Like, that's a good player. And he's just like, he's currently in his prime. He's 29, still got several good years in him, barring any like injuries and all of that, obviously. But yeah, I think you got to say the Clippers did this.
It's scary.
They did the thing.
Scary good.
Who else in your mind, as we kind of wrap up this quick reaction episode, but who else in your mind won free agency outside of the teams maybe we've mentioned right now?
Outside of the Nets and the Bucks.
Well, I was just saying Nets and Clippers.
Nets and Clippers
in particular.
Well, I think you mentioned you want to mention the Bucks. Bring them back up.
Absolutely.
You said you feel like they did extremely well re-signing their guys.
Absolutely, keeping Middleton, keeping Lopez, who just fit what they were doing so perfectly well. I think it hurt to lose Brogdon, but I think those signings on one of the best teams in the East, continue to make them one of the best teams in the East. What do you think, though?
Absolutely. They're only going to be better. Kawhi's out of the East, which that's crazy.
It is.
I think the Bucks are going to be the favorite. They're going to be back. They're already a dominant team, and they're returning their guys. They got chemistry. It's going to be scary good. And Giannis is only. He reminds me of that Godzilla meme with Anthony Davis, where he just like gets better and better and better somehow.
Yeah, I know. What is he? He's only 24, and he's only just now, like, starting to, like, need a jump shot,
Right.
It's just, it's insane. Is there anyone who stands out as an obvious loser to you in free agency? I feel like I know the answer, but...
Well, are we talking about the Lakers again? I mean, do you want to bring them back up?
No, I won't say the Lakers lost in free agency, but
you're right. They signed Anthony Davis.
Certainly didn't go how they planned, but I feel like most people think that the Knicks are the go-to losers here. But I'm curious if you have anyone.
Well, I was trying to think of somebody a little bit more fresh, but I was going to say the Knicks. The Knicks are pretty obvious. Who would you say besides the Knicks?
Oh man, I'd say. Well, I'm not going to say that they're flat out losers. I will say. It is if things had not gone exactly the way that they did, like to kind of fix things a little bit here, I think Dallas would have been in the discussions because they whiffed on a lot of moves. But then they made a couple of good moves. They were able to steal Seth Curry away when a lot of teams were wanting him to come in and be a spot up shooter for him. They're able to take Boban Marjanovic, who was just coming off a real good year. So I think Dallas did some moves to make it better than maybe what the Knicks did. But they came close, man.
What about the Raptors? I mean, how do you win a championship and then just not convince a guy to come back and win another championship?
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, and not only that, but also lose Danny Green in the process, the other piece of that. But I mean, that's the business. Like if you make a big time or really a series of big time moves in order to win now, you have to be okay with winning now and not regretting it later.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, look at, Cleveland of a couple years ago. They got their one title and then, a year after that, LeBron's out. And you have to be okay with, well, we got our title.
Yes.
We'll always have that. And I think Toronto feels that way, but that's got to hurt. Man, that's got to hurt him.
Yes.
It's got to hurt him tremendously. So,
man, well, the another big winner, obviously a huge winner. I'm the biggest homer you'll ever meet, but the Pelicans and free agency. Just to rewind just a little bit back to the winners. Last night only made those draft picks that the Pelicans acquired even more valuable, I believe. So, things are looking great.
Yeah.
Zion is a freak.
He is. Were you able to watch his short-lived?
I did. Thanks to you. I did. I will love you forever for last night being able to watch that live.
I honestly forgot I gave you like my ESPN login.
Yeah. Whoops. Did you have any thoughts after last night?
I thought the most important thing to note about the two guys, and I actually mentioned this to our friend of the program and fellow podcaster Chandler Rowland. Last night we were chatting some
miss.
First down. Anyway, we were talking a little bit about it, and I think that what was telling, I like RJ Barrett a lot, and I think RJ Barrett is going to be a very good professional basketball player. But what was very telling is how after a couple of minutes, where like the nerves kind of hit both of the big time rookies in Zion and RJ, Zion settled down and stuck with what he knew he was great at. And RJ forced a few things. Mm-hmm. And I think it's very telling. I'm not saying that's, going to matter long term, because I think RJ is going to be fine. But I think it was very telling that Zion was able to adjust very quickly.
He did. And he got a little bit warm, started sweating a little bit, and just started.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be one of the first times he's been back on the court, in a while.
Yeah. It looked a little rough missing some of those free throws and that 3-point shot he attempted early on, but he was like, you know what, forget that. Give me that ball.
Right. It's like, okay, I get that he's like, oh, I'm going to prove that I can shoot, or maybe something like that. But then, like, once it doesn't kind of work, he's like, all right, whatever.
Man, it's going to be exciting. The spacing that he's going to have that he didn't have in college, I cannot wait to see.
I know. I think he's going to be phenomenal at it. I think it's just going to be a lot of fun. But no, they did great. The JJ Redick signing is fantastic for the Pelicans. Really huge.
It's literally everything we needed. Everything from we needed a shooter. We needed some veteran presence for our young guys. I mean, he's a good defender. Fantastic. He's not an elite defender, but he's a good defender.
Right. Yeah. He's crafty. And we don't need him to necessarily be a big time defender, considering who else we have on the roster between Drew Holiday and between Lonzo Ball. And I mean, it's promising seeing Frank Jackson perform so well.
Golly, yes,
in the summer league.
Although I feel like we say this every preseason.
He's a Frank Jackson summer league all-star. That's exactly it. I felt like Frank Jackson and Sheik Diallo were the two summer league all-stars, man.
What happened to Diallo?
That is a good question. I'm going to look that up real quick to see where he is. Does
he fit with our team?
I think he is. The internet just says he last played for the Pelicans, so I think he is either still technically
June 26th. The Advocate, Pelicans decline to pick up Diallo's qualifying offer.
So technically, he is. He technically is a free agent, and I would be surprised if the Pels re-sign him, though.
Correct.
But anyway, but the Pelicans have kind of a full roster. But yeah, they've got a lot of good defense in there. I mean, Zion himself is a good defender.
It's amazing. I hope the Pelicans. Somebody was tweeting about like Anthony Davis is like, well, maybe I should demand a trade back to the Pelicans. I hope the Pelicans obliterate the Lakers. It would be pretty satisfying.
It really would. It really would. And as soon as we get done recording this, I'm getting ready to go out of town, but there's a part of me that just wants to load up NBA 2K and like download an updated roster and start a brand new Pelicans mode on it. So
yes,
might just do that. Jim, thank you for joining me on this episode of 40 Minutes of Hell. For anyone who is curious as to who you are, where else can they find you on the internet?
They can find me, most importantly, on Twitch. If you haven't downloaded Twitch, download it. Live stream Fortnite. I stream a family friendly, so if you got kids and they like video games, they like Fortnite, they will absolutely love it. Have a good time, play with me, watch, compete,
all that good stuff. Great plug, man. Good job. I love it. This has been 40 Minutes of Hell. We're going to wrap things up here. Stay tuned. Obviously, a lot more going on in the NBA and a lot to discuss as things settle down and we start looking ahead to the upcoming season. Along with that, though, I do want to point out if we have any college football fans listening, in particular SEC football fans listening, we are ramping up our 2019 team previews over on Running Out the Clock, which is kind of the parent podcast to all of this. And there's even a rumor that Jim here is going to show up on one of those podcasts very soon to talk a little Auburn football. I mean, I'm just saying.
Let's go.
So stay tuned to all of that. Thank you for tuning into this episode here. I'm your friend Joseph Craven. And wow, what a crazy free agency this has been. Craziest one you've ever seen, Jim?
Wow. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
This makes LeBron's decision look like the tamest thing ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's wild. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.